read the thing on the event, maybe it's all good. Maybe you saw kind of the basic topic of it. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a background, and then I'll show you what I do and kind of the materials that I use and, you know, why I do all of it. So there, that's me. If you want to find me later, my name is Noxon, and it's probably, there's only 5 Noxons in Japan, and they're all in my family. So, and I'm the only one, I'm the only Erin Noxon, but you can find me on Twitter at TESOL for the time being until I finally abandon Twitter. All right. So the class I'm going to talk about, and the reason I developed all this stuff is because I wanted my own language lab for a class I teach called Global Interaction. We had some really, really old stuff, but I wanted to start using more technology. So here's one of my favorite quotes. The fact that teachers function as gatekeepers. Unless we model the technology, right? Unless we use all of the tools, unless we show the kids everything that's going to go on, it's not going to happen. So I wanted to use the tech that I had available to me and make an environment in which my kids could use it and learn. The class that we designed is a blended learning class. Basically, the entire class has to run with the technology. So I had to build something that we could smoothly run, but would also be useful and be, you know, would teach the kids. So basically, it's a Japanese high school. We have blackboards, we have desks, but in the past couple of years, because of GigaSchool, we have become a bring your own device school. So it's kind of bring your own device. We all have iPads, but I like to call it not bring your own device. Instead, I like to call it bring your school device. So it's very limited and everything's kind of like throttled down so that the kids can use it and not use it. But the nice thing is that we are a Google school. So I could use all the Google tools. So predominantly everything I'm going to show you has to be run through Google Classroom. If you don't run it through Google Classroom, there's some tricks that you can use to do in another LMS. But I'm going to show you how to kind of do it through Google Classroom. All right. So how my class is taught, we have 2 different sections. We have a listening section and we have a speaking section. The speaking section, I'm not going to really talk about today, but briefly, I'll just say that we do presentations, poster sessions, speeches, conversation tests, interview tests, all of the kind of action expression kind of stuff. So the LL that I'm going to talk about and the activities that I built are for my listening class. Find ways to have the children practicing the things that they are learning about, but also have a little bit more speaking practice, but a lot of listening practice. So we have 3 stations in that class. The first station is a face-to-face session with the teacher. At that session, we use our textbooks. And the textbooks that we use is the Passport 2 textbook, which is by Oxford. We use that textbook because it is designed to teach the kids useful expressions and vocabulary for going overseas. And before Corona, all of my kids used to go to Singapore in their first year as their school trip. Most of the kids who come to my school want to study overseas or at least travel overseas at some point and use their English. So that's why we use that textbook. Then we do reading practice using Google Voice within Google Documents, which I'll show you what I do and how I do that. In order to do that, they have to have something to read. So that's why I mentioned the textbook, because I take sentences from the textbook and I use them for the reading station. So they're practicing reading things that they read in the textbook. And then the last station, place they cycle to is using videos from ello.org. And I'm going to show you some of those videos in a little bit. But also just know ELLLO. It's got 3 L's. So the ello.org. It's really amazing. It's all free. So I very much encourage you to check it out. All right. So basically our structure, the first thing we do at the beginning of the year for listening class, and this is where I take a moment to stop and say, if you're not using some sort of lesson about digital citizenship, you're doing yourself a disservice. Digital citizenship, if you go on creativecommons.org or several other websites, you can find more information about digital citizenship. However, it is a series of lessons or one big lecture, but in some way you need to teach the children how they should be appropriately using technology in your class. If you're not doing it, you could have a problem in class, and then someone could come to you and ask, why didn't you tell the kids they weren't allowed to do that? So we kind of go over the rules about how to use technology in safe ways. My favorite analogy to give them is that a digital footprint is like a tattoo, and that it will be there forever. And so I say, some people have very nice tattoos. They'll look very, very nice, but some people get tattoos and maybe they want to remove it later because it's not so great. It's get better, it's not get better. So maybe you want to make sure that the things you put on the internet are things that you don't mind being there for a really long time. So stop for a minute, do some digital citizenship before you start at the beginning of the year. Then we have our 3 stations and some high-level technology here that we use. I don't know if anybody knows what kind of iPad this is. This is an iPad 1. Many people tell me that they don't have enough screens or they don't have enough devices to show things to kids on. I use the iPad 1s as video monitors. They don't connect to the Wi-Fi very well anymore, so we don't even use them. They don't have workable browsers. You can't use YouTube, but you can load videos up on them and have the kids watch them and watch for any sort of activity. So, and they only cost like 1,500 yen if you buy them used. They're really cheap. So I have probably about 5 of these spaced throughout the room for my rotations. All right, I'm going to show you guys these now. If you want to take a shot of that or get the URL, these are my worksheets that I use at my listening station that I'm going to show you guys. This is when I don't run it through Google Classroom if I just want to use a physical paper copy of the worksheet. I can put these back up later if you're interested. And then these are my Google Forms that we use, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. But I'll leave that up there for another second if anybody wants to grab it. And then I want to show you all of the stuff. So I am going to make this bigger. All right, hold up. If I go like this, does it look bigger? There, okay. That looks bigger for you guys too. All right, shout at me. I'm gonna make it so I can't see myself and you guys, so shout at me if something goes awry. All right, this is an example classroom that I have set up here inside of Google Classroom. So I can play around with it and see how things run. So if you haven't used Google Classroom before, this is your stream page. This is where you put notifications to the kids. And here is my classwork section. So in my classwork section is where I can send work to the kids. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys today was the reading activity. So the reading activity, I'm going to reuse one of my posts from one of my other classes. Here we go. Here we go. We'll use number 14. So how do I set up a reading activity? So as I said, I give them sentences from the Passport textbook. You can use any sort of sentences, paragraphs. You can have them speak out their own essays. The whole point of this activity is to get them to speak and use some English that you want them to use. So I go ahead and take sentences from the Passport textbook, and then I make this template sheet. So this is my main template. I just use 2 pages. This is supposed to be a 15-minute station. If they work and they get it all done, they can easily read this in 15 minutes. Sometimes they're lazy and they don't, but they should be able to. So they have to go in. If they're on a PC, they have to turn on voice. And if they're on their iPad, they use voice typing. I'm currently on my PC. If you are on the iPads, if you're on a phone, you just click the little microphone icon. Here on a PC, you go to Tools. In Japanese, it's just katakana tsuru. And then you go to voice typing. This only works inside the Chrome browser. All right, so you have to be using Chrome browser. On the iPad, it has the voice typing embedded in the keyboard, so it's not a problem. But on a PC or Chromebook or any sort of actual laptop, you need to have Chrome browser. This will pop up. The first time they use it, it asks them to authorize it. So it puts a little message that says allow use of microphone. So you have to say yes. Then they click here next to number 1. Here is their first sentence. This is the sentence they have to read. So they'll click here, then they will click speak and say, and the number of the store is on the information pack, period. We're open until 8 o'clock, period. There we go. And the number of this store is on the information pack, period. We're open until 8 o'clock, period. Not reading my clocks right now. I'm not enunciating, apparently. All right, so they will repeat this and read all of their sentences to their Google Doc and all the way down to the bottom. When they finish, after they've read their whole paper, they come back into here, into Google Classroom, and they'll submit their assignment. Now, how do you do this for a class of 40 kids? First, you set up the template document like I did. Then, when you send it out, there's 3 options. Choose to make a copy for each student. Then you can set up the rest of your rules and how much you're going to grade it for and when the due date is. Put some instruction in here for how you want them to read it. And then you assign it. Yeah, I know I didn't select a grade category. When it's posted, you can click in here. You can see that it's been assigned to your 20 students. 0 have turned it in so far. And within here, currently it just sent out the assignment, so it's spawning all of the papers, but all of their papers will appear in here. To give you an example, I can go into a previous one I sent out. Let's see. Here you can say this one has already had all of the pages spawned. So you can see all of the individual student assignments. And when they turn it in, you can give them a grade if you choose them to grade it this way. It's really, really, really nice. Whoops, I totally closed the wrong window. Open my window. All right. So the other activity, as I mentioned, is videos from elo.org. So let me start one. So I call these activities video activities because they have to watch a video. So I'll click on the video and reuse. These are my old assignments. You can reuse any assignment from any previously used Google Classroom post, which I love because I have 6 different classes that I teach. So in this way, I can just keep reusing them over and over. So here we go. I will have my instruction for how I want them to do it. And then I will show you what the form looks like. This is a graded Google form. So it means that after the student completes it, I will get a score for them and it will populate their scores into the Google Classroom. So this is the way it looks for the student. First, it says that this is video 14. It has the title of the video. And it says, here is the video that they need to watch. So if they click here, it will open the video from elo.org. Whoop. All right, I want to make sure you guys are seeing this okay. Yeah, you are. Okay, so usually how I teach them to do it is to put these side by side, but I think if I split my screen right now, you guys aren't going to be able to see both windows. So usually they put split screen, one on the left and one on the right, and then they start their activity. There are 5 questions always at the beginning about what the speaker says. So this video is about him talking about making food. He has to, the student has to answer all of these questions. My form actually won't allow them to advance unless they answer it. So I'm going to put in a quick answer here. Then the second part of the activity after they answer the questions is to come in here and there's a close. So a close activity means, of course, that they have to find the word that fits into the blank. So here's the paragraph. Down here, it has sentence by sentence. I wish Google Forms allowed you to complete the close here inside of the actual text. It's not there yet. I keep requesting the feature and hoping that they add it. But right now, the way I do it is I end it with the blank word and then they fill in the word. So they have to fill in all of the words. And when they're done, they hit submit. Then it shows them the correct answer and gives them their score. Let me go into the edit mode so you can see what this looks like within the embedded form. So I have my form locked into my domain, but you can leave this as an open form. The first page, of course, has to have the link to the video. The second page has all of the questions, and I'll note 2 important points. For every question, I have made it so that it only has one answer. The reason I only have one answer is because it's the easiest way to have the form be self-graded. So the first question, who taught Mickey how to cook? You fill in the answer key and you put in all the answer choices you will accept. So I'll accept mom, mom, his mom, his mom, his mom, his mom. So I want to keep all of the capitalizations because I want to make sure they have the chance to get it. Mark all of the answers incorrect. Then there's one more thing I want to show you. All right, so this question, I ask for only one word, but sometimes they put in his mom, and I wanted to give them credit for that. But for the most part, I only want them to have one word, and sometimes they accidentally will put in a space before or after the word. And if it has a space, the Google form counts it as wrong. So there is a way you can go down here, and it's called response validation. I had to search this online to make it work right. But you turn on the response validation, and there's a whole list of codes you can find online. And this one, /s, means a space. So you can say the expression doesn't contain a space. And if it does contain a space, it will say, please answer with one word and no spaces. And that way it kind of saves your students from making careless mistakes and they don't realize that there's a space at the end, because sometimes they accidentally put in a space. And then the close activity is the same way. I have that make sure it doesn't contain a space. You put the correct answers in, and then they go all the way through. And then it, when you submit it, back here in the Google Classroom, you will be able to see if any kids finished it. So for this one, when the kid submits the form, it auto uploads the grade. And then right here in the top corner, it says import grades. This will, when you click it, say, are you sure? Would you like to import grades from this form? And you just click import and it will actually pull all of the grades from all of the students' submissions. And then it will just automatically grade it, boom, and you're done. So it's just a really, really, really easy thing to do. So I gave you guys, let me open my presentation again. I gave you guys the links. I'm going to open them really quick. To my, I'll just go here really quick so you can see what it looks like because I have a few minutes left here. I made copies of all of the forms. All right. So, oh, it looks like somebody else copied all my forms too. All right, so I will go fix this because it looks like my folder has somebody else's copies already. I will recopy them in just a minute here once Paul starts doing his presentation. But if you would like to use these forms, make your own copy, drag them out of here and put them in your Google Drive. The reason they get copied by other people is because you have to be an open editor of a form to make a copy of it. The other link I sent, these are the worksheets. So if you are not one-to-one device, if you can't use Google Forms right now, these are worksheet versions. So the worksheet versions also have the questions on the left. So I have the student fold the paper in half, and then they do the left side first. And when they're done with the left side, then they can flip it over and do the close activity on the right side. On the back is the QR code to go to the video. and also the answers so they can check their work. So if you're not one-to-one and you want an easy activity to do, Dozo. If you are one-to-one devices, or maybe your kids were working at home and you want to use the forms, I'll make it so that the forms are fixed there because it looks like somebody already copied the forms. And yeah, I hope those things are useful for you. And I'm going to stop this for the moment. Okay, I'm going to pull it down here so I can see you guys. Does anybody have any questions? I went through that all really quick because I wanted to make sure I got to show you all of it. But I'd love to answer any questions or anything about Google or anything that you guys would want. So I'm going to be quiet for a second and see if anybody has anything. Sounds like my classroom. Any questions? Sheen.
I have a question. How
Go
have
for it.
the students felt about this? Like, how receptive are they to this type
I've
of
been
thing?
doing this for 4 years now. When they first start, they kind of freak out a little bit, especially because even though we're one-to-one devices, they don't get their devices until June because iPads right now are in short supply. So we have to wait until the iPads come. So they have to use the Chromebooks that we have in the classroom. And I just have a set of Chromebooks, so they can't take them home. So they have to kind of come in at lunchtime and finish if they're not done. The reading activity is quite hilarious when they first do it. None of them know the word for exclamation mark. And so they want to type it. And part of my thing is that I want them to say all of the words out loud. And somebody asked me once, and I was telling them about this, why can't they just type? And I explained how the first year I said, if you make a mistake or something, you can type really quick. They naturally go and fix all of their mistakes and just start typing. And then all of a sudden they're just typing. And it's not a typing activity. I want them to actually read. So they're in there, the very first 2 times, they're like shouting at the computer, exclamation mark, and they can't figure out how to make it work in period, because a lot of them learned how to say period in katakana. So they're shouting at the computer in katakana, and I walk over and I'm like, period, and it makes the period, and they're like, oh. And so then they're working really hard. And I'll do it in front of the classroom and I'll say the sentence and it types exactly what I say. And then they'll say it and it says all kinds of crazy stuff. Oh, I get the craziest sentences. So they get frustrated at the beginning. But after a while of reading and repeating, they get better and they figure out that they have to go slow and they can't shout really loud at the computer. So they figure it out. And it's kind of a way to have them, because we want them to read aloud, but we don't have the time to make all those recordings and then check their recordings and do all kinds of stuff. And this is kind of like a self record for them. I teach 240 kids, so some of them cheat. Some of them go in and copy paste the sentences and go click, 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 and just paste them all the way down. And I can't control that. But this is for them. So if they're the ones not reading out loud, they're the ones that are going to have problems on the GTech. So I can't compensate for that. The videos, I neglected to mention all of the videos and the ones that I shared with you guys. LO.org has videos from all over the world, or people from all over the world who are living here in Japan. It was done here in Japan. But I choose videos from countries that my students aren't usually exposed to. There's 3 Americans that work in my school. They hear British accents and Australian accents. I want them to hear other accents. So like Mickey, you just saw, he's from Nigeria. Let's see, Lucille's from France. Reese and Tolotola are from the islands in the Caribbean. So they're from all different accents, all different places. And I really want kids to hear all those different voices. And they react kind of confusing to that at the beginning. They're like, I can't understand that English, it's hard. And I'm like, sometimes I'm sure people come to Japan and it's hard to listen to English too. And they're like, oh no. So everybody, they just have to try. So they also kind of just like using their devices, because not all of the classes have the teachers gotten them using their devices yet. So I hope that answers the question.
No, thank you. Did someone else have a question? I think I saw someone use the reaction button for their hand.
I have a question, if I may. I'm trying to start the video there. Okay. Pop up. Oh, okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Patrizia. So I teach university and
Mhm.
I coordinate with our listening program. I am curious. You've said you've been doing this about 4 years. Have you
Mhm.
noticed any measurable difference with the students who are, doing this regularly?
Um, I I collect like formative like Likert scale type assessments, so I can they like it, but I don't have any way to assess if they're getting better because like I can't compare one video
Right,
data to another video data because they're
that's
all
for sure.
different. Um, every year the kids, I will say this, the GTech, we take the GTech here, and it's a tablet based
Right.
talk to the tablet test. They have gotten more comfortable doing that by using the iPads all the time in class. However, it really was funny because they were talking to the GTech and I was proctoring one time, and they had to like say something, and they're like, "Oh, she turns down the corner, comma, and then she goes in period," and then they went, "Oh," and they realized they said the comma and the period out loud, and I was like, "Oops, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be teaching this in class." But yeah, it kind of helps in other ways, but no, I don't have any like sort of, they like it, but I don't have
Okay.
any data to see if they've improved because I only have them for 1 year.
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
No worries.
And I'll be looking at your worksheets and stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't know if
I'm
I
gonna go
caught.
fix this forms folder.
Okay, and will you
I'll
be
put it.
putting that?
Yeah, I'll type it in the chat once I fix the
Thank
form.
you.
It looks like
Thank you.
somebody already went in there and copied them.
Okay,
So when I get the forms folder fixed, just go in and make copies really quick before someone else
great.
can.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No
Okay.
worries.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I think it's 6:30-ish.
Yeah, it's about 2 more minutes in, so we could probably just stop here. Right, so
Sounds
thank you,
good.
Erin, for your great presentation. Thank you for the applause.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to stop recording.